In this lecture, we are going to install the dependencies that we'll be needing for the front-end part of the application that we are putting together. The very first one that we're going to install is called Zob Foundation, which is a framework for building responsive web applications. So if you've never heard of Zob Foundation, you could do a simple Google search for Zob Foundation and then Foundation for Site 6. Okay, so let's look at the docs. Once you get on this page, you can click on Install Foundation for Site. You can actually read through the website to see a lot of things that you can actually achieve using Zob Foundation. There are many other front-end framework that you can use like Bootstrap, but I actually prefer to use Zob Foundation because I think it is more flexible and allow you more control over the CSS and JavaScript for your application. So there are different ways to also install Zob Foundation. Can install it manually by doing a git clone, or we can use a CDM, or we can use one of the package managers for JavaScript applications. So we're going to be using Bower. So I'm going to just copy this and then come over to the command line inside of my project file. Then I'm going to paste it here. Right now, I'm not going to begin the installation. We need to take care of one or two things before we actually do this installation. The very first thing that we need to do is to specify where we want it to install all our front-end dependencies. To do that, I need to create a file that Bower can actually look for and then see the directory that I want it to install all of my components. So I'm going to right-click here to create a new file. This will be an hidden file. It will be .bower roc. Inside of this file, we are just going to have an object, and then we are going to have one key called directory. So what this means is look for this directory and install all of my front-end component inside of here. So anything that I decide to install using Bower, they will be installed inside of the folder that I specify here. So what we want to do is point it to resources, assets, and then a new folder that will be creating here. This will be Bower, and then one more will be vendor. Right, so I want to install them inside of resources, asset, Bower, vendor. Resources, assets, Bower, and then vendor. Alright, so with this, Bower will know where to actually install all of our components. So the next thing that we want to do is to create a bower.json file. So this file will allow Bower to save the dependencies that we are needing for our project. So let's create a file here called bower.json. So be bower.json. Right, so you take note that this file must always be at the root of your directory. .bower roc, bower.json, composer.json, package.json. Okay, so our next step now is to create an object here and then give it a key called name and then specify the name for our project. So this should be Acme Store, Acme-store. So this is all we need to do right now. Create the .bower roc file and then bower.json file. So when we now come here to install, we can then pass in one option, which is --save. So with this flag, Bower will know that, okay, I need to actually update this file, which is called bower.json, with this particular dependency that I'm installing in this project. Okay, so I'm going to just do install. Right, so it's pulling in jQuery and also pulling in Foundation for Sites. Okay, so let's go back to our test editor. You can see here now that we have Foundation for Sites 6.3.1. If we come to our vendors directory, we have Foundation for Sites, we have jQuery. So let's try to see what version of jQuery is installed here. This is 3.2.1. So we can actually have more control over the jQuery that we want to install if we don't want 3.2.1, because there may be some other dependencies that we need that require a lesser version of jQuery. Alright, so we are going to just continue now. So the next component that I want to install is also from Zob Foundation. It is called Motion UI. Then you can see this is a SaaS library for creating flexible UI transition and animations. So we're also going to be needing this in our project. I'm going to take the command here for installation, and then I'm just going to paste it here. But right now I want it as a dependency, not a development dependency. So I will remove the --dev. Right, so put in motion UI and then jQuery 2.2.4. This is what I was talking about just now. This is depending on 2.2.4, while the site is actually pulling in 3.2.1. So let's go over again to our test editor. And then I'm going to open this jQuery. And we look at this again. Let's see what version we have here. See right now that it has replaced it. This is now 2.2.4. So if we want to be more specific, what we can do in our bar.json file is to come here and specify the jQuery dependency manually. So we're going to say jQuery. What version do we need? Need anything between the version 2. So we're going to put a theta and say 2.2. So with this, it's always going to install a version that is less than 3. So the last dependency that we want to install is Slick Carousel. This is going to be used for the slider that will be on the home page of the e-commerce application that we're building. So let's go over again, say Slick Carousel. So we can actually just go straight to the GitHub project, then see the different installation methods. So this is the one that we need, bower install --save Slick Carousel. Right, so come back to command line and then paste it here. All right, so it has installed Slick Carousel and it's also depending on jQuery 2.2.4. So for now, this will be all the dependencies that we'll be needing for the front end part. We have actually put in the responsive framework, which is foundation sites. And then we have jQuery, we have motion UI for some animation, and then we have Slick Carousel. So these are the 4 front-end dependencies that we'll be needing for this project. In the next lecture, we are going to set up task automation using GUP and Laravel Elixir.